Meet Gavin and Tanner. They're stupid, but they had a big plan. You see, their plan was to travel to the Gonave Island in Haiti. All the men on the island, and take the women and children. Real quick, for all my French speakers out there, is it Gonave or Gonave? Gonave? Help me out, man. In an effort to make sure I'm able to understand things precisely, I want to know, are we saying that correctly? Because remember, we're Americans. We say things as we want to say them, and we don't really give much credence to how you would say them. So is it Gonave, Gonave, Gonya, Gonwu, or like Siobhan, like like Gaelic, like it doesn't say at all what it's trying to as slaves, where they would then force the women and children to watch Netflix with them. If you don't know what that means, look in the comments. Now, if all that sounds insane to you, it gets worse because it's the actual plan that these two came up with that's the scary part. You see, sometime last year, they meet up. They say, look, we still finna take over that island. Tanner said, you know, I'm always ready. How we gonna do it is gonna go in military style. Tanner said, that's smart. You ever been in the military? Tanner said, I guess I haven't. So Tanner joins the Air Force and Gavin joins a firefighter academy so they can gain some skills to take over the island. Crazy. Tanner in the Air Force, busting his ass. He said, man, this is tough. Let me see how Gavin doing. Ring, ring, ring. Gavin said, yeah. Tanner said, okay, how's the firefighter training going? Gavin said, firefighter training? Oh, I flunked out. Remember, they stupid. He said, they was trying to make me learn and all that. Tanner said, ooh, I almost said something. Gavin said, cool your jets, Tanner, because I got a plan. Look, I'm finna go to Thailand and learn how to sail boats because to take over the island, we got to get to the island, and we don't know how to sail. So Gavin flies over to Thailand. He says, "Hey y'all, I'm trying to learn how to sail one of these." One of the folks out in Thailand said, "Yeah, we can teach you. Look, this is how much it's gonna cost." Gavin said, "Cost? Oh, I'm broke." They said, "Oh, why don't you just Google how much it costs?" But the thing that's kind of getting me about this whole concept, right, is I have this similar problem in the black community. Like I said, like most of my audience probably is going to end up being black or whatever, right? The ingenuity that drug dealers and crackheads have is so impressive. I said this to somebody at work the other day, um, and I said it to, so I work with a lot of conservatives, whatever, right? And my everyday life is spent with black people, right? I'm not saying they're not conservative, but you know the image that I'm trying to invoke when I say these things, right? I said both of these two statements to both of these people, and they agreed so wholeheartedly, it let me know it had to be a fact, right? I said, if I'm just gonna, if with how clever drug dealers are and how malicious a lot of these gang members can be, the military, instead of putting a guy in jail for committing, like if you know, hey, oh, little Ronnie wiped 6 bodies off the map, now he's in jail for life. Just go have them go overseas and kill the black brown people you want to kill, right? Like if the American government wants to unalive people in other places, I already said kill, so it doesn't matter, right? But if the American government wants to ex- exert its force over in other countries, send street niggas, right? Send a bunch of street niggas over there to make it happen because they're going to do the same thing here, right? Fight for a block that they rent, right? Promise them a little bit of land over in these countries. They can do what they want over there. Send a squad of 20 of them. But, because remember, this isn't, they're militias. Gangs are essentially militias, right? They've trained themselves with the American war machine behind them. You're good to go. Just put 14 Hellcats over there, and then you got. I'm sorry, right. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like with the ingenuity, I always say, like, man, if you with all the ingenuity you have, just get a job. You know, like these two guys could have just gone to work, could have gone to work, met a nice woman, and they wouldn't have had to do any of this stuff. To teach you, we got websites. Gavin said, I should have done that. They said, yeah. But you can swim around the water, though. That's free. Now, at this point, the 2 men decided to take a step back because they realized they were in over their head. Psych, stupid. You not listening. They dumb. They said, we'll figure out the boat stuff and the training stuff later. Let's move on to phase 2, recruiting soldiers. And by recruiting soldiers, I mean going to Washington, D.C. and asking homeless people to join them. In fact, Tanner requests to be stationed in Maryland so he can be close to Washington, D.C., so he can consistently try to recruit homeless people. The homeless people in Washington, D.C. were like, nah, we're not going to do that. Gavin and Tanner said, y'all want to think on it? And it was at this point, Gavin and Tanner looked at each other and said, let's keep going. So they start writing battle plans. They start texting each other plans, saying, all right, we're going to go here, we're going to go there. They start texting each other terrible things they're going to do to the Haitian women. And it was at this point they get a knock on their door. Do, do, do. Gavin and Tanner said, who that? They said, it's the FBI. And Tanner said, oh, Y'all trying to join us? The FBI said, not really, but you're going to jail though. Gavin and Tanner said, all right, we coming out. You see, the FBI had been watching them for months. We don't know exactly how they got caught yet, but that information is probably going to come out in the future. And well, these pictures you've been looking at this whole time are their mugshots. Gavin and Tanner said, how many years you facing? The FBI said, you're not facing like any years exactly, you're just facing your whole life. Gavin and Tanner said,
hey! Boy, this is why Xevi got popular, right? He said, "You boys aren't facing like years. You're facing all of them. It's not how many. It's all of the ones you got. You know. But keep in mind they also had those mugshots. So let's keep this going.
Actually, take over the island. We didn't do nothing. The FBI said, and you were never going to take over the island. You know how many people live on Gonave Island? Gavin and Tanner said, 40? FBI said 87,000. Gavin and Tanner said, well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. So now Gavin and Tanner both face life in prison for conspiracy to people in another country. Side note, they also face another 15 to 30 years for producing a video in which, let's just say, they're doing Epstein activities. Now, technically.
Okay, now, if I'm being a conspiracy theorist, right? There's no way that the government thought that they were going to be able to successfully do anything in Gonave Island, right? Like 87,000 people. These dudes, they're so stupid that they didn't know the amount of people. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt because this is all conjecture and anecdote, right? But they didn't even know how many people lived on the island. Even if there were 40, somehow only 40 people on this island, had they not done any research on Haiti? Like Haiti is now, if you're Haitian and you can shed a little bit more light, feel free to in the comments, right? But it's essentially militia run right now. Like a bunch of small warlords. It's a feudal system over there, right? So you think some other feudal lord hasn't already done the thing that you think you're going to do when you go over there and you're just two guys, right? They should have known, old boy, old buddy should have known when he called his boy and said, how's firefighter school going? And he said, I flunked out. He should have been like, you know what? I'm just going to stay in the Air Force. This is actually going to be a really good way of life for me. It's going to be a great living. I'm going to get this stipend every month. I'm going to meet a really nice lady who wants to just get out of her rural town. I'm going to have 4 or 5 kids. We're going to be living pretty good, right?
Technically, these are all charges, so all this is alleged, but they were texting about their plans back and forth for like a whole year. And they were being watched really closely by the FBI, so it's probably going to be life for Dumb and Dumber. And why the FBI was involved, because no matter how dumb their plan was, and no matter how much the plan was clearly not going to work, when you start planning to invade other countries, the FBI is going to hop in no matter what. And speaking of planning, a lot of times the plan to do something will get you so many years in prison. It's called conspiracy. You conspiring to do something. And they have a step-by-step plan through their text. Remember, they're stupid. And it's them actually joining the military, joining the fire academy, flying to Thailand, actively doing things. That's the big part. Because at that point, you can't say, no, we were just playing around. But the wild part is that.
Now, where did Buddy get the money for the flight? But not the money for the boat, like the boating lessons. Like, oh boy, like this is why Splinter Cells probably, old boy had planned to fly there, but hadn't made a plan on being able to afford the boat lessons when he got there. Come on, man.
That is their argument. Their attorney is basically saying they weren't actually planning on doing it. And it's basically that reasonable doubt thing their attorney's going to try to play on. It's maybe Tanner wanted to actually join the military. Maybe Gavin wanted to be a firefighter. And they were just joking around. Oh, Gavin went over to Thailand to learn how to sail a boat. Maybe he just likes sailing boats. And that may sound insane to you, but people have won a lot of cases due to reasonable doubt. An attorney basically saying, can you prove that they really wanted to go to Haiti and do this without a shadow of a doubt? But their attorney is not very expensive. Gavin couldn't even afford his sailing lessons, so it's probably not Diddy's lawyer or nothing. So getting them off on a charge like this, probably not going to happen, especially since this is front page news. Now, some more evidence that the FBI brought up that I didn't mention was the fact that Tanner and Gavin were studying Creole, which is the Haitian language, so they can make their takeover easier. So now their attorney got to slide up and say, it's a crime to learn a new language. They just like Creole. The FBI probably gonna pull up and say, why would 2 random dudes from Texas be studying Creole? Which you better believe that the feds are gonna bring up in the court case. It's basically, how many coincidences can we give you before you say, all right?
This is actually kind of an indictment on the American legal system while also being a positive. Like, you got to really do a lot of work to prove that something is what it is, but only if the jury of the peers that they have or whatever is already in one bucket or another, right? Like him saying like how many coincidences does it take to reach a certain conclusion? I mean, you could tell like four coincidences in this case. Like you don't need all 6 degrees to get to Kevin Bacon in this game. You need Akinator. We're on Akinator over here. We can get to the conclusion, right? But it's something to be said about how rigged our legal system is because how many degrees do you need, like as a jury? How many degrees does the jury need to get there? You know, if this isn't enough to indict them, I don't know what is, right? But there's a lot of cases where you're like, how'd you get to that conclusion? Because they only needed 2 or 3. So it's an indictment of how good and bad our legal system here can be.
That these two are guilty, and it's their lawyer's job to make you believe that they're all coincidences. Now, finally, I believe an underrated part of their case, because it's so insane, is the fact that they have another charge. The fact that the FBI has a video that they made of them coercing somebody to perform Netflix watching activities. If you don't know what that means, again, look in the comments. Now, that someone that they coerced was of, I gotta censor a lot of things. Someone of, let's say, Epstein preference. Remember, they wanted both of them.
Oh man, don't let Megan Kelly hear this. If she hears it, she's gonna say, "Boys will just be boys. It's just what they're into." But yeah, you got to put them under the jail now at this point, right? Like it doesn't matter what all the other things are. The other things are just a catalyst to get them off on this or to get them on this charge, right? Like if you want to be pro-black nationalists on this, right? They probably wouldn't have gotten in trouble for the Haiti thing because it's like, well, or are they going to be able to do it? No. Are people super concerned about Haiti? Not that concerned. Once you throw this charge in there, it's a wrap. They're going under the jail.
Women and children on the Haitian island. So these people are cupcake chasers. Again, if you don't know what that means, blame YouTube censorship.
We do because we're chronically online.
So they already got 15 to 30 years they're facing for that video. Because a lot of times how courts usually work is, let's say for some reason they don't get charged for trying to take over a Haitian island. The idea of this charge is so big that it's going to influence their other charge, the video that they created. So a judge would probably be like, let me just give you the max sentence because y'all was thinking of doing something terrible. It's basically what happened to Diddy. His charges were so bad that even when he got charged for his lesser crime, the judge said, God, the other things were just so bad. We got to do something. And that's usually how the feds plan it. They say, if we're not going to get you for the big thing, we're gonna get you for something. But one of the things that annoys me most about this case is not only that these two were just stupid, it was the level of arrogance they had believing that they could take over an island in Haiti in the first place. Because the fact that they even thought they can take over a part of Haiti kind of tells you what they think of Haiti. You know what I mean? They probably thought they were gonna pull up with some weapons. The Haitian people were gonna crawl out of their huts in awe. You're king now. Meanwhile, Haiti probably wouldn't even send their army after them. Meanwhile, they probably wouldn't even get to the island because they'd get lost at sea. They didn't know how to sail. So sure, I blame their stupidity, but I also blame the American education system for their ignorance. Because if you're from America, think about what you learned in history class. America's great. America saved everyone at the end. On top of all that, they're from the southern states of America, where there were several states that even wanted to stop teaching about slavery because they didn't.
Well, kind of makes a lot of sense. I know he said they're from Texas earlier, but that is a really good point. Like the preconceived notion of American exceptionalism that you would have to think that even a small island of like I am under no I'm gonna give you a I don't believe I could go 30 minutes south and influence those people, right? But these two guys think that they can go hundreds of miles away to a place where they don't speak the language with nothing but the shirts on their backs and will and conquer an island without any knowledge of how many people are on that island, like what's the military fortifications of that island, and one was in the Air Force. You would think being in the Air Force long enough, which I don't know how long I'd have to look up, right, that he'd go, yeah, we're not prepared for this. Doesn't matter how well equipped we are, we won't be prepared to be able to go in and do this from the outside. But,
didn't want their kids to feel bad. Meanwhile, slavery is American history. Basically, my point is, not only do I think they're dumb, I genuinely think that they believed that they were better than the Haitian people. And damn, you remember the times where this would be front page news. Like this would be all people were talking
But it's
about
just
for like the
Tuesday.
next coming weeks. But it's probably gonna be a day story because of all the crazy stuff going on in the world right now. Anyway, that's the end of my yap session. Gavin and Tanner, everyone.
Great video. I think he's right, right? Like back in the day when I was younger, even just when I was younger, right? Which obviously he's way younger than I am, but I remember news was news for weeks at a time, right? And it could be hyper consumerism and stuff of that nature, right? But news is news for seconds. Like news is like this is the worst time to die with the Kirkification memes, right? But the best time to be a bad person because they remember very, very small amounts of what you've done as a person in today's day and age. So if you wanted to be a bad person, you have not been born in a better time. Look at these two, right? This is not news to anybody except for chronically online people. There is nobody in real life who is going to know about this except for you. You're going to know about this because you watched my channel. But there are very few people who are going to know that this thing happened. And in a week, they won't care that this thing happened. But I think it's a really funny thing, you know. And what he said at the end, where he said like it's kind of funny that that's what they think of the Haitian people. I don't know a whole lot about Haiti, but I do know that I'm not equipped to take over any of their islands. Like there are unmanned like Sentinel Island is protected, it's protected by India, don't get me wrong, but we don't even go there because we're like, look, none of our business. You have a great day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just interesting to see. I just wanted to bring y'all a different kind of video than my normal stuff. One.